EF0, the deceptive beginning. EF0 tornadoes pack winds between 65 and 85 miles per hour. That's highway speed, but don't let the weakest classification fool you. These twisters still cause real damage and can be deadly. Picture this. You're in your backyard when an EF0 strikes. Your patio furniture starts sliding like it's on ice. That loose fence board you've been meaning to fix finally gives up. Roof shingles peel away like old paint. Tree branches snap with sharp cracks. Your chimney might develop some serious cracks. But here's what makes EF0s genuinely dangerous. Flying debris doesn't care about classifications. A piece of wood becomes a missile at 70 miles per hour. Shallow-rooted trees tip over like dominoes. That billboard you pass every day, it's probably taking a nap on the ground now. EF0s are unpredictable in their politeness. One minute you're dealing with flying lawn furniture, the next you're watching your neighbor's shed roof peeled back like a sardine can. They might last just a couple minutes, carve a narrow path, then vanish like they were never there. Except now your yard looks like a giant played fetch with your belongings. These make up over half of all tornadoes. So if you live in tornado country, you'll probably encounter one eventually. Before we dive deeper into nature's most violent phenomena, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. What we're about to explore gets progressively more terrifying, and you won't want to miss how these atmospheric monsters can literally rewrite the landscape. Trust me. By the end of this video, you'll never look at storm clouds the same way again. EF1, where real damage begins. EF1. Tornadoes bring winds between 86 and 110 miles per hour. Think Category 1 hurricane strength, but concentrated into a spinning column of destruction. This is where that sense of security from being indoors starts to crack along with your windows. Your well-built house that barely noticed the EF0, it might lose significant chunks of its roof now. Windows start exploding from pressure changes. Chimneys collapse into rubble piles. If you live in a mobile home, this is where your day goes from bad to catastrophic. EF1 winds flip mobile homes like pancakes and toss them off foundations like discarded toys. Cars parked in the wrong spot get shoved off roads or flipped entirely. Trees don't just lose branches anymore. They get snapped in half or ripped out by the roots, leaving gaping holes in the earth. The debris field tells a story of escalation. Instead of scattered lawn furniture, you're looking at roof tiles embedded in car windshields and fence posts, driven into the ground like spears. The wind doesn't just push things around, it weaponizes everything in its path. About 1/3 of all tornadoes reach EF1 intensity. You realize nature can actually hurt your house. You're not just cleaning up lawn debris anymore. You're calling contractors and filing insurance claims. EF2, the game changer. This is where tornadoes stop playing games. Winds reach 111 to 135 miles per hour, equivalent to a strong Category 3 hurricane, except this hurricane is only a few hundred yards wide and moving across land like a buzzsaw. Scientists use the word considerable for EF2 damage, which is meteorologists speak for holy hell, look what happened here. That well-built house that lost some roofing in EF1, an EF2 can strip most or all of the roof clean off. Exterior walls start collapsing if construction is anything less than perfect. Mobile homes? Forget about it. They're obliterated, reduced to scattered debris fields that used to be someone's home. But the real terror lies in what EF2s do to everything around your house. Debris becomes high-velocity shrapnel. Wooden planks get driven through walls like arrows shot from a giant bow. Metal siding peels off buildings and flies through the air like massive razor blades. Cars and trucks get lifted off the ground and either tumbled along streets or thrown entirely. In forested areas, an EF2 carves a path that looks like God took a chainsaw to the landscape. Most trees in its path get snapped or uprooted. The ones that remain standing are often stripped of bark and branches from flying debris impacts. About 8% of tornadoes reach EF2 strength. Recovery requires major rebuilding efforts. This is where neighborhoods start looking like war zones. The psychological impact deepens here too. EF2 winds can kill you even if you're taking shelter indoors, unless your shelter is specifically built for tornadic winds. EF3, severe destruction territory. EF3 tornadoes operate in the realm of severe destruction. With winds between 136 and 165 miles per hour, these monsters turn entire buildings into scattered debris fields. That well-built house that lost its roof in EF2, an EF3 leaves behind, maybe a few interior walls if you're lucky. Most houses get reduced to their foundations with piles of unrecognizable wreckage nearby. Here's where physics becomes genuinely terrifying. EF3 winds can flip freight trains, not small cars, but actual locomotives weighing hundreds of tons get rolled off tracks like toys. Semi-trucks get airborne. Large vehicles that seem immovable in normal life get tossed around like leaves in a gentle breeze. The landscape after an EF3 looks apocalyptic. In forested areas, almost every tree gets uprooted or snapped. Many get partially debarked from the sheer force of wind and flying debris. The ground becomes scoured in patches where the tornado circulation was strong enough to strip away topsoil. One of the most unsettling things about EF3 damage is how random it appears. The tornado might completely obliterate one house while leaving the house next door relatively intact. This randomness comes from small-scale variations in wind speed within the tornado. Slight differences in location can mean the difference between severe damage and total destruction. EF3s make up only about 2% of all tornadoes, but they account for a disproportionate share of tornado fatalities. Why? Because very few structures can protect occupants from a direct hit at this intensity. Even being indoors, in a well-built house, offers limited protection unless you're in a specifically designed safe room or basement. The March 2020 Nashville tornado exemplified EF3 destruction, tearing through downtown at night and causing $1.5 billion in damage. The Dallas EF3 from October 2019 caused $1.2 billion in damage, despite no fatalities. Testament to how much destruction these storms cause, even in urban areas with sturdy buildings. EF4, the obliterators. EF4 tornadoes bring devastation that defies comprehension. Winds between 166 and 200 miles per hour create destruction so complete that well-built houses don't just lose their roofs. They get wiped off their foundations entirely, leaving behind only concrete slabs and scattered debris. The power of an EF4 transforms the very concept of heavy objects. SUVs, buses, and semi-trucks become projectiles. Locomotives get overturned. There are documented cases of train cars being tossed considerable distances by EF4 winds. Trees don't just get uprooted. They get completely stripped of bark and branches, leaving behind what surveyors grimly call a forest of sticks. Debris travels for miles. Pieces of houses, metal siding, and machinery get embedded in the ground far from their origin points. Only about 0.5% of tornadoes reach EF4 intensity, roughly 1 in 200. But when they occur, they often become the defining natural disaster for entire regions. The Tuscaloosa-Birmingham tornado of April 27, 2011 exemplified EF4 destruction. With winds around 190 miles per hour, it devastated entire neighborhoods and high-rises, killing 64 people and injuring over 1,500. Damage topped $2.4 billion. In some areas, only rubble remained where multi-story apartment buildings once stood. Here's what makes EF4s particularly terrifying. They represent the threshold where almost no above-ground structure offers adequate protection. Even buildings designed to withstand severe weather can be severely damaged or destroyed. Survival requires being underground in a properly constructed storm shelter. Communities that experience EF4 tornadoes often describe the aftermath as resembling a war zone. The randomness of destruction can leave one building completely intact, while the building next to it is swept away entirely. EF5, atmospheric violence. EF5 tornadoes represent nature's absolute fury. Winds exceeding 200 miles per hour with no upper limit defined. These storms perform feats that seem to violate the laws of physics. Well-built, anchor-bolted houses don't just get damaged. They get completely swept off foundations and reduced to small debris scattered over vast areas. The damage description for EF5 uses the word incredible, and that's not hyperbole. After some EF5s, surveyors note that very little recognizable debris remains. Wood gets splintered into fragments so small, they're barely identifiable. The contents of homes get granulated. Even grass can be scoured from the ground by intense winds and flying debris. Trees in an EF5's path get completely debarked and stripped clean, leaving behind what look like giant toothpicks stuck in the ground. Large objects become missiles that travel for miles. Cars get thrown distances measured in miles rather than yards. Semi-trucks get wrapped around trees. Heavy farm equipment and oil tanks get lofted and mangled beyond recognition. Perhaps most terrifying, EF5s can destroy structures that normally withstand weaker tornadoes. Steel-reinforced concrete buildings, schools, hospitals, they can be completely destroyed. Multi-story buildings may collapse entirely under extreme winds. EF5 tornadoes are extraordinarily rare. Only about 0.05% of tornadoes reach this level, maybe a few per decade. The United States hasn't officially recorded an EF5 since 2013, the longest gap on record. When an EF5 does strike a populated area, the results are catastrophic beyond measure. Joplin, Missouri experienced this reality on May 22, 2011. The EF5 tornado killed 158 people directly and injured over 1,150. It destroyed thousands of buildings, including a hospital, and cost $2.8 billion in damage, the costliest tornado in U.S. history. Wind speeds were estimated around 225 to 250 miles per hour. Large sections of the city became unrecognizable. Moore, Oklahoma faced similar nightmare on May 20th, 2013. The EF5 tornado killed 24 people and injured hundreds more. It demolished 2 elementary schools and roughly 1,100 homes, causing around $2 billion in damage. The most severely impacted areas were reduced to nothing but foundation slabs. Everything else simply vanished. The most extreme winds ever recorded on Earth came from the Bridge Creek Moore tornado of May 3, 1999. Doppler radar measured winds around 301 to 318 miles per hour, about 100 feet above ground. Despite these incredible wind speeds, it wasn't rated EF6 because the damage, while total, was consistent with other EF5 events, the theoretical EF6. Scientists whisper about EF6 tornadoes. Theoretical monsters beyond our current scale? The scale doesn't go beyond 5 because at EF5 level, complete destruction is complete destruction. But what if something stronger came along? An EF6 tornado would involve wind speeds over 318 miles per hour. The damage wouldn't just destroy buildings, it would displace anchored structures, potentially rip pavement from roads, and twist reinforced steel beyond recognition. Underground bunkers could become compromised. Entire city blocks could vanish with no trace. The terrain itself could be altered, with topsoil scoured several feet deep. Some scientists argue the scale shouldn't be extended because at a certain point, everything is destroyed and there's nothing left to differentiate. But others believe that when radar data proves winds exceed the EF5 threshold, the classification should reflect it. We may have already witnessed EF6 level events without calling them that. The tri-state tornado of March 18, 1925, cut a 219-mile continuous path across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, killing around 695 people and obliterating several towns entirely. Modern analysis suggests it may have reached EF6 intensity, but we'll never know for certain. Preparation and survival. Understanding the EF scale isn't just academic. It's potentially life-saving knowledge. Each rating level requires different survival strategies. For EF0 to EF1, sturdy buildings provide adequate shelter. Stay away from windows and seek interior rooms. For EF2 to EF3, basements or interior rooms on the lowest floor become essential. Mobile homes are death traps. For EF4 to EF5, only underground storm shelters or specially designed safe rooms offer real protection. Above-ground structures, even well-built ones, may not survive. The key is having a plan before severe weather threatens. Know your area's tornado risk. Identify the safest location in your home. Have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. Practice your safety plan with family members. If this breakdown of tornado intensities helped you understand these incredible forces of nature, press that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Share this video with anyone who lives in tornado country. This knowledge could literally save lives. Stay safe out there and keep watching the skies.